Hey everyone, my name is Chris Banks and I am with Pyramid Analytics. It's a pleasure to be with you right now, and I am so excited about today's topic in our data to insights in 15 minutes because we're going to be talking about big data. We're also going to talk a little bit about supply chain and how that is impacting the world. I am joined today with one of my friends from Germany, Ali Lorig. He is going to share with you some insights as well as an amazing demonstration. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. Ali, if you can hit that next slide. So what we're seeing today from a challenge standpoint is certainly a lot of things are changing. Organizations are faced with more and more data than ever before. More and more people want access to analytics. Everybody wants to be data driven, but how do I do it? How do I get there? And then also, we live in a dashboard world, but more and more people are looking to leverage analytics in different ways, even getting more sophisticated analytics. Now, you talk about data today. Way back when I was working, and you guys probably were still in diapers, relational databases were the big thing. And relational databases, however, were not built for the boatload of data that you're getting today. And this is where the fruition of Hadoop came from. And Hadoop, while it was open source, there were some vendors out there that took Hadoop, tweaked it a little bit in their own different way, looking at vendors like Hortonworks, like MapR, certainly like, I want to say Greenplum, I'm going to really show my age, but Pivotal is what they eventually were calling themselves. And then the last player standing is Cloudera, right? So that was the big Hadoop vendor. But then the fruition of cloud data warehouses, data lakes, data lake houses came out of the blue. And now you're hearing more and more about the Snowflakes of the world, the Redshifts of the world, the Google BigQueries of the world. Maybe it's HANA. It could be anything that you've got out there. And how do I leverage this information is really where it's coming into play. Ali, if you could hit the next slide. So what we've done here at Pyramid Analytics is something very simple. We built a platform from the ground up just a few years ago. So now you're saying, well, what's so important about that? Well, we're going to give you the best performance and scalability right off the mark because we built this up from the ground up. So you're looking at our competitors. They've got decades old technology. But what we've done is really brilliant because what we're looking at is speed of insight, right? Any data inside your organization, outside your organization, we're going to give you the best performance and scalability, but get you the insight around that data. But the other bigger challenge is around adoption. Organizations still are falling flat around adoption of analytics. And what we like to talk about isn't necessarily analytics, but more of insights that we can deliver to any person inside your organization or better outside your organization while still keeping that total cost of ownership down low. We're not going to require you to have 600 servers because you want to deploy out to maybe 10,000 users. Some of our competition does that. And that drives up the cost and more memory that's required to have that. And then also, we want to simplify analytics for any analytics need. So yeah, we do reporting, we do dashboards, we do visualization. But if you weren't aware of it, we were ranked #1 in Gartner's Critical Capabilities report for augmented analytics, leveraging AI, machine learning in an easy to use way to deliver insights to anybody. And this is where the value proposition comes into play. And our secret sauce is this incredible direct query engine. Any data that you've got, we can directly access that information. So next slide. I think that's my last talking slide. Without further ado, I am going to pass the baton to Ali Lorig. He is phenomenal, folks. So buckle up, put your seatbelt on, and watch what Ali has to say. Ali, take it away.
Thank you, Chris. Before I jump into my live demo, let me continue with two slides. One is the elephant in the room. Think about the elephant as your data silo or the one big piece of big data that you have in Hadoop, in HANA, in Snowflake, in Amazon Redshift, wherever you are. And then think about you're putting people in that room. And just imagine what these people can see of that elephant and compared to the data. Because if we're talking about data silos or even big data, not everybody understands the data in its completeness, and not everybody can see the whole data aspect if they look at it into data silos. So if you look at the different guys, maybe one only sees the trunk and he says, oh, this is a big snake, right? The other one sees the leg and says, no, it's a tree stump, because he cannot see the big picture around it. And same is true for the other one who sees the sheet of leather, the ear, or the guy who's standing at the tail and just looking at the hairy end of that tail, just seeing that one. It's a furry little mouse, right? And this is really where the problematic with the data silos and incompleteness of data comes from, because you get limited visibility. You will not get a 360 view of your data if you're looking into different data silos. You have a lack of collaboration because every department is sticking to their own data, sticking to their own priorities, and working in a departmental interaction is limited in that one. Inefficiency, right? With multiple versions of the data in your organization, you don't know which of the data you can rely on, which of the data is updated, which is the best data to make your decision on. Inaccuracy, you have multiple versions of the truth. And last but not least, or second last but not least, the wasted storage space, because either storing data into different data silos for the different departments leads to multiple wasted gigabytes, terabytes of storage. But even taking that data from that one data source and putting it into a big data lake leads to a duplication of data. And when it comes to all these points, they lead to poor decision making, because in the end, all these points from the above, they at least, so they, in my point of view, they definitely lead to poor decision making, but at least they slow down your decision making process. Because, for example, you have to look after the data, you have to collect the data, and when you get it, it's out of date. Inefficiency, right? So poor decision making. How can we overcome this? Let me jump and switch screens into my demo system. So one thing, and maybe most of you are aware of that one, is the classical ETL process. So if we look into the left area down here, right, we do have, for example, a JSON data source, an SQL server, we do have Snowflake as a data source, we have an R script to collect data, and another SQL Server data source. We bring in different tables, we do something in a classical, let's say, ETL process where we do the union step, we do some splitting, calculated columns, and then finally we write this into a target data source, in this case, Snowflake, right? So what we see here is that we take data, tell Pyramid what to do with the data, and then write it to something else. Classical approach. We can support this. It's typically part of our ETL process and the data model that we build in the background, but this is not our, let's say, preferred model to go for. The preferred model to go for, let me switch to my second screen down here, is this. This is how we look into the, let's say, direct query world, where we say we want to take Snowflake. So for example, the Snowflake database that I created in the example before, where I took all the data and wrote it then into a target Snowflake database, this could be this one. It could be the direct source system that we are direct querying. And if we look into the big data sources, you can see it here, right? We have Google BigQuery. We can go for Amazon Redshift. We have Amazon Athena, Impala. We can go for other relational data sources. We can go for cloud data sources and all the different elements where you typically would store your big data efforts and maybe cooperate with your supply chain partners, right? But in this case, Snowflake is my only element in this model. And we can see here that this box is only the linkage for Pyramid to say, what is the server I'm accessing? What is the name of the database? And what are the tables that I want to use in this query, in this model, right? And in this case, I just checked this box, direct query data source. This is all Pyramid needs. You would say, okay, this is probably not all Pyramid needs because we need a data model. Yes, Pyramid is building this in the background for you. Even if we do a direct query, Pyramid has the information about all the tables that I have selected and how these tables are linked together. What are the keys? Is this a one-to-many, a many-to-one join? Is it an inner join, an outer join? How is this working, right? And with this direct query capabilities, there's no need to copy the data from a data source to somewhere else. We keep the data where it is. And the other good thing is typically these big data infrastructure is really performant and we can leverage the performance of these systems. and we can keep the security in one place. Really good stuff. So let's take it to the next step, to a dashboard. And in this example, I took 2 direct queries, one again from a Snowflake data source. And if I look into this visualization down here, and if we check the information, you can see this is coming from my Snowflake data warehouse server. The database is customer and products. We have a customer and product model behind it, and there's a small description bringing me some details on that one. And on the other hand side over here, I do have my SAP BW system with an info cube, and the model behind this is something that's created in BW. So I have 2 data sources on my dashboard, nothing new. But on the other hand side, we can use these 2 direct queries without moving the data and building a logic behind it to make this dashboards interactive with different data sources out of the supply chain. So if we look into my Casa di Roma customers, I want to understand what are the products in this terms in a subcategory that this customer bought from us. So it's computer components and it's computer systems. So interacting from my SAP visualization, I can send a query to my direct query for the Snowflake. And the other way around, if I want to understand my computer components, going the way vice versa, you can see overall I put 86,000 computer components instead of the 3,000 we had with Casa di Roma. And these are all my customers that I've used down here. And by the way, Casa di Roma is still here, but the amount of money that they spend on computer components compared to the other companies is pretty less. And one more thing, if we do these direct queries, we are not limited to just the data we have here. So if a user is a little bit more advanced, he can say, okay, Mexican oil, probably these are pesos, and maybe some other elements are euros. I want to see the details behind it. So you can go easily in here with a right click, say add, I want to add the order currency from my BW to this slide. This is visualization. And now I can see I have pesos, I have Argentinian pesos, I have ruble, I have US dollars, euros. So I get a bit better feeling about the value of the numbers that are behind here. And even if we are talking about people that are not so experienced in the system, and they are looking into a dashboard that is combined out of, let's say, more data that they are used to, they can work with it. So in this case, I have my KPIs on top. I do have a bar chart, pretty simple around quantity and price, easy to understand. This one might be a little bit more challenging when we look into this scatter plot, but with the k-means example and the quantity and sales information, this could be straightforward. Let me go a little bit down further to this one, to this scatter plot, right? And let me help you understand what are you seeing here. So on this, we have the overall revenue of our products. On the x-axis, we do have the age of our customers, and with the size, we see the quantity sold. Okay, understanding this is a little bit helpful on that one. But even if so, what we see with a lot of our customers and prospects is that only 20% of the people in the organization are using or having access to the data, and the data that they are using because of the data silos is less than 30% of the overall data that's available to these people. So making this data available to everybody in the organization needs some advanced analytics or augmented analytics. One thing that we support here is that small crystal ball, and every visualization that we have in the product holds the Smart Insights. So what Smart Insights does, it helps me to understand better what am I seeing in this visualization. And it's applying to all the different visualizations and the data behind that visualization to help me understand what are the basic facts, right? I can see the average age in this visualization is 43.67. I can see my sales numbers and how these vary. So from a smallest sales of $280 up to 415,000, but the average is 46,000. Have I seen this in this chart? Maybe not. I would have expected it to be a little bit higher, but we go into parameter analysis, some relationship information, and you can even bring this to the next level and say, I want some advanced analytics, giving me even more details behind the data. I could even go for some outlier detection in the data that I would not have seen before in the details. And last but not least, you can go into the categorical information to look into the different clusters that we have colored in this visualization to understand where are these clusters by rank, by relationship to other elements, whole full-blown information for the end user, right? one thing. And let me close the demo with one last element. If we go down a little bit further down here to look into our product returns, right? And this is maybe also important to understand from a supply chain perspective, where this information coming from, who is the manufacturer, who has the highest returns, and all this stuff, right? But let me look at the return amount of my products. Let me quickly filter that by descending to see, for example, we have two products with about 50,000 euros, dollars of value that have been returned in products. And this one is my mountain bike 200 silver with a 38 frame. If I want to understand this number, I could ask my business analysts to go into the details. Could you please explain that number? Could you provide me a report with more details around it? And this will take some days. Maybe I have to look into different data sources to get to the details, right? But with Pyramid and the central model logic that we have in place, I can simply do a right click and say, Pyramid, please explain that number to me. And what Pyramid does, it looks into the related data, finds the drivers behind it, also finds the average, the driving factors behind that one. But in this case, we are looking into the overall amount of this $50,000. We can see these people had direct sales contact. They went into a reseller store, and most of the people who returned these bikes were female. And yes, the male portion of that specific bike is pretty slow. Okay, on the one hand side, it doesn't tell me that much, but I can analyze this a little bit further. With a simple right click up here, like I have done with add the currency, I could go in here and swap the gender information, maybe by the sales organization and the salesperson. And this gives me a completely different picture. Right now, I can think about that maybe Cherise Branham, because she's really sticking out, or he is really sticking out, is that this is the person who maybe talks people in our shops into buying something expensive like this bike that they don't want to, right? And this is, for me, I don't have to know the data in detail, but I can analyze the data in a kind of self-service analytics way that is very convenient for me. And Pyramid can be adopted to the different skill or maturity levels of the people who are working with that product, right? So let me close that one down here and jump back to my slides. And I have one last slide with a manufacturer in the UK. It's Premier Foods. And Premier Foods, they had the challenge with data residing in multiple SAP business warehouse instances, in SAP HANA, in old ECC SAP instances, but also in the cloud. And in this case, it was Amazon Redshift. And we brought together all the different elements into a direct query capability within a couple of weeks time frame for 600 users. And yeah, the biggest change was for them the aligned data platforms and the user interface with the ease of use to bringing that huge amount of data to the people in the audience. And now back to Chris for the Q&A.
Thank you, Ali. That was awesome. 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 I am blessed to be surrounded by such amazing SEs. I love watching the demos because you guys put together such amazing, I say demo, but it's just that what you're showing and showcasing it is outrageous. And just a note about Premier Foods, which, and I'm not going to call out any of our competitors, but I'm going to come pretty darn close. They were trying out some native tools that SAP provided, and they hit walls. And we were the only ones that came in and were able to not only go directly against SAP, unlike anybody's business, because we honor everything that's already been built and the business rules and the formulas and the calculations. We take advantage of all that, but then also against Redshift. And that's where some of the other players fell down. So we have some great technology around that. Ali, I'm going to ask you a question because I just want to make sure everybody realizes the power of what the platform provides. You showcase smart insights. You also show the explain feature and the capabilities of what that provides. What had to be done on your end to enable that? Anything?
No, nothing. It's really the artificial intelligence. So when you put up your second or third slide, where we had that circle with the platform consisting of data prep, business intelligence, and the data science piece, right? So Pyramid has a data science piece where organizations can go in and bring in their own intellectual property around their Python scripts, their predictive analytics, whatever they use today and have been established with the data science teams in, for example, Jupyter Notebook. They can reuse it in Pyramid. But there are also elements in Pyramid that comes to AI and machine learning that are built into the product. And the smart insights and the explained functionality is one thing that is hidden behind the surface. And if the customer brings in the data, these elements are capable and are visible out of the box without any further ado of a user or somebody who creates that dashboard.
And you bring up such a great point, because with our platform, right, what we've combined and built from the ground up is that marriage of data prep, business analytics, and data science, all from one unified platform that doesn't require any coding, guys and gals, which is the other part. So to my question with Ollie, I mean, that's the amazing thing, is all of this is built into the product, where traditionally you will hit a wall with other tools that are out there. Our platform is so robust, and it really enables the business user, shouldn't say user, the business person, or any person, to really get the insights that they're looking for. And there's other stuff too, like chatbots that we have as well. Few questions came in, Ollie, so I'm going to put you right on the spot. How do you support going from on-prem data, which a lot of organizations still have, to then going to a cloud data warehouse or a cloud data lake or a cloud data lake house? How does that happen? Is there how do you transition from that? I built my stuff in Pyramid, but now I change the data. What happens?
Yeah. So I think there are two aspects to it. One is, let's say, getting the data from your on-prem data sources into the cloud. And that might not be only one data silos, but many data silos. So as I showed with my first model example, that we can support an ETL process, and you might want to enrich or structure the data in a different way to put it into the cloud. So we can support there. But on the other hand side, we could also support in terms of, you have created your dashboards, you have to create all your visualizations on that specific on-prem database. And now moving to the cloud, for a lot of customers, it's a painful process, because every visualization, every dashboard, everything has to be changed to that new data source, has to be validated, and this takes time. In Pyramid, it's a kind of exercise that takes maybe 2-3 minutes or less. You just select the dashboard. Pyramid has a lineage function. So I can use Pyramid to understand this dashboard is built of how many visualizations, how many formulas, how many KPIs have I calculated, and these visualizations and KPIs, from which model are they coming? Model meaning, what is the data source behind it? And it doesn't matter if this is an ETL-based model or a direct query model. We know the data source behind it. And with this data source changer capability in Pyramid, you can easily click on a dashboard, say, I want to change the data source, select the data source that you have right now with on-prem, select what should be the new data source. Pyramid will also show to you what are the impacted items of that specific dashboard, going all the way. And then you simply hit run. And there's another functionality, and that's probably always I recommend to using it. It's the structure analyzer. So if you have changed the data, the structure analyzer, the data sources, the structure analyzer will go in and compare your on-prem data source table and the column names with the naming convention that you have in the cloud. So you can tell Pyramid, okay, this is probably, there's a name change in the column. Maybe it says quantity, and in the new data source, it says quantities. So you can simply map this, and Pyramid would understand how to translate the, let's say, dashboard queries to the new data set with the new naming convention in that changed data source.
Excellent. You touched upon this next question that somebody asked. How long does it take to get up and running with Pyramid? And you kind of touched upon it with Premier Foods in their use case. But traditionally, how long does it take to, model my data and then start building whether it's reports, dashboards, visualizations, maps. How do I do that? And how long does that take?
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward. So maybe Pyramid is a server-based platform. So we don't care if the customer is running Pyramid in their on-prem data center, in their private cloud, in the public cloud, or in a Kubernetes environment. We are capable of handling Pyramid in all these environments. So installing Pyramid on these machines take less than an hour. And then going from there, you have to do the standard things like bringing in the users or connecting to your Active Directory, making sure the single sign-on is working, connecting to the different data sources, setting all this up, and then you go from there. Then you can bring in your data analyst, creating the visualizations, creating the dashboards, giving users access, doing the self-service analytics. So setting it all up depends on the organization and how quick they are, but I guess it's done in a couple of weeks. And we also have to supporting the not only the power users, but also the end users. We have an LMS system called Learning Management System. And this is where an end user can go in, self-paced computer-based training. And it's like a couple of hours training to get to the first steps within Pyramid. But there's always the option to drill deeper. And within Pyramid, there's always the option to give these users more rights, more capabilities, more things to see. So telling this, it's like you can bring in like 100% of your users, and even the ones who have never worked with these stuff, they will just get the predefined dashboards and views that they need. And if they are getting used to it and they want to explore more, you can checkbox. Now let's give them another capability of creating like some advanced analytics, or maybe allowing them to create their own dashboards. You're absolutely free with the user to give him the full right of everything, or just putting it down to just be a simple user with no rights. Right. So this is really then going up the elevation. But let's say in this 1 or 2 weeks, setting up the system, getting it up and running. In the meantime, the users can be trained. So it's a really quick time to market, time to value for the organization when installing Pyramid and using Pyramid.
Excellent, excellent. I'm just curious, Ollie, your demo that you showed, how long did it take you to put that together?
So the demo was pretty straightforward. I think let me put it to a specific one where I had this dashboard with the two data sources.
Yep.
Right, putting up the data. The data sources have been in my system, but just creating the two visuals was done in a couple of minutes. Linking these two in a model on the dashboard was even quicker. I think the most time it took me to find the background graphics to put that one into a kind of visualization that is appealing. So maybe half an hour, 45 minutes max.
Excellent. No, that's great. That's great. That's the last question we've got. Is there another slide, Ollie, after this one?
There is one.
There we go. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully you found this very insightful around how we can help you with your big data investment, and also give you some ideas around the supply chain, which is certainly challenging for many organizations still today. And you'll see it firsthand if you try to go out and try to buy a car today and look at the lack of inventory that a lot of organizations have. What do you do about that? And that's something that we could certainly help you with as well. However, we'd like you to choose your own adventure. If you're interested in more information, the first one that you can see there, pyramidanalytics.com/request demo, you can certainly click on that. And if you'd like a demonstration of our technology, our platform that combines data prep, business analytics, and data science, we would love to show that to you. So take us up on that. And then the other one is that we've got 3 analyst reports that we would love to share with you at pyramidanalytics.com/trust. And those reports we can send to you. Pyramid, I mentioned the Gartner Critical Capabilities Report, which is the companion document that talks about product to the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which talks about company. And we're on there as well, but we're a small player amongst titans. But we offer some fantastic technology. And the fact that we are ranked #1 for augmented analytics, and we are the only vendor that placed top 5 in all of the use cases that Gartner put everybody through. speaks highly about what our technology can do, but they're not the only ones. We've been ranked #1 at Dresdner Advisory Services, ranked #1 with Bark. We've had perfect recommend scores, ranked #1 for self-service. So check us out. Our technology is fantastic. And the big thing that we provide is business value. And that's something that we stand behind, what our technology can provide. So thank you for tuning in. Take us up on one of these or both adventures. And if you have any more questions, feel free to visit us on the web at pyramidanalytics.com. And you can chat with one of our associates directly for any questions that you have. Thank you for your time today.